It's time to get fired up, all you fight fans. Welcome to Rings and Cages AZ, where we bring you hot takes on all things fight in the Copper State. All the latest news and updates in this hotbed of combat sports that we call Arizona. Let's go. And now, your host and on-fire fight sports superfan, Chuy.
Today, going to be talking about some upcoming events we have here in Arizona on the 27th. Do want to recap a little bit of what happened over the past weekend as well. Want to give you guys my thoughts on the Tracy Cortez versus Rose Namajunas fight. Before I get into that, just want to talk a little bit about the LFA event that happened on the 12th out in Chandler at the Wild Horse Pass Casino. If you're not familiar with LFA, they are one of the top theater promotions for the UFC. This is an event, if you want to catch a replay, you can catch it on UFC Fight Pass. So UFC does have eyes on this event and every LFA event. A good showing at a promotion like this is always a positive for your fighters and for your gym. This past weekend, the lab brought out 5 fighters to that event and they went 5-0. So definitely good for them. Special shout out goes to Leslie Hernandez, absolute warrior. 3-round slugfest with Jane Duran. Came out with the unanimous decision victory. So great showing, great performance for Leslie. Hopefully with that kind of performance and really for that entire gym, we're going to see more of those guys coming into UFC or other bigger shows like UFC, 1FC, Bellator, etc. Maybe if not a little more time in the LFA is always going to be a positive. Like I said, there's eyes on that show and any kind of victory like that, like Leslie had, any kind of showing like the gym as a whole had, always going to be good for them. With that kind of win, though, I would not be surprised to see Leslie Hernandez getting a call up to one of the big shows, especially UFC, in the near future. Getting fighters to that elite level is nothing new for the MMA lab. They've been doing that for years. Big shout out to that fight team. Big shout out to head coach John Crouch for all that he does and developing that kind of talent, producing some real studs. So looking forward to see what they have going on in the future. Looking forward to see just how big those fighters can get. Now, I do want to talk about the Tracy Cortez versus Rose Namajunas fight. Disappointing result, of course. Wanted Tracy to win. I'm a huge fan of Tracy Cortez, but I wouldn't call this a disappointing performance necessarily. This was a big step up in competition for Tracy, right? She did take the fight on 2 weeks' notice. She was in camp, but had to cut it short. Had to cut it off early just to take this fight. It's a main event against an elite fighter, and when you have the opportunity, not a lot of people are going to turn that down. So definitely some respect to Tracy for taking that fight. Wasn't expecting to fight a 2-time champion. Wasn't expecting to fight in Denver on the 13th, with that high elevation. So all those things are things that contribute to what can be kind of thought of as a less than desirable performance for a fighter. But I do think the main thing was that Tracy, she did kind of mention this in her post-fight interview. Maybe she was just not quite ready for that step up in competition. She hadn't really fought anybody in the top 10 before. This was the first time fighting a champion, a UFC champion. There's certain things that you can only learn through experience. One of those things is how to compete at a high level. You're just not going to see a lot of fighters who step right into that knowing how to compete at that elite level. Think maybe, John Jones, Anderson Silva are some of the few examples, but, there's more examples of fighters who had to have that signature loss before they can become that champion. Now, there were some positives in this fight for Tracy. She was at times able to land some combos. She definitely had her moments in that fight, especially when it comes to striking in the clinch with some good knees. That 5th round definitely was able to pressure Rose a little bit better than the previous 4. All 3 judges gave her that 5th round. So, it was a convincing victory for Rose, but not necessarily that dominant, one-sided 10-8 round destruction that you might usually see from an up-and-coming prospect going against this caliber of a champion, a 2-time champion. And it did remind me a little bit of when Rose was that up-and-coming prospect. She was on the rise. Then she fought Karolina Kowalkiewicz, who was not a dominant UFC fighter necessarily. She was never really a champion, but was a very decorated kickboxer. And when Rose had that fight, she had her moments. Just like Tracy did, but it was a convincing victory for Karolina. And I think Rose learned quite a few lessons about how to be a cage striker in that fight. But in terms of her career trajectory, I think it was probably the best thing that could have happened to her, because she got an idea of what she needs to do to reach that elite level and what parts of her game that she needed to tweak. And I think Tracy can walk away from this loss in a similar manner. I think she can understand now what it takes to be at that elite level and what she needs to tweak in her game to kind of compete with these champions. There doesn't need to be any major overhauls of what she does. I think she has the potential now and she has the skills now. And, certainly having a full fight camp behind her, is going to help if she does get another fight against a top 10 opponent or maybe even a top 5 opponent, just given how well she performed, in this last fight with Rose. And even maybe in this fight with a full fight camp behind her, the performance would have been different. Maybe not necessarily, you can't say that she would have won with a full fight camp behind her, but I think the performance would definitely have been improved. And what I think kind of excites me is I don't think either of these fighters are going anywhere. And it'd be great to see how much Tracy has improved if and when she gets a rematch with Rose. Certainly Rose Namajunas is going to be making waves at the 125-pound division for a long time, and so is Tracy. So I'm looking forward to what's going to happen with Tracy over the next 6 months, year, 2 years. Because again, that loss that Rose had against Carolina really propelled her to that elite level and really kind of, in a sense, woke her up. And I think Tracy can walk away from that in a similar manner. And I know she said she wants to get back in the cage as soon as possible. Very happy to hear that. Very much looking forward to what's next for her. Always going to be a fan of Tracy Cortez. Always going to hope for the best for her. Really excited to see what's next. Want to talk to you about some upcoming events here. This Saturday, July 27th, we have Brawl in the Barrio presented by Del Sol Boxing Promotions. This is going to be a pro-am boxing event. It's going to be at the American Royal Palace in North Phoenix. We're going to have 5 fighters making their pro debut, I should say. Going to be headlined by Maximus Castro. He is a bantamweight, currently 8-0 with 4 knockouts, undefeated. 19 years old, so a young prospect to keep an eye on. Boxing huge in the Phoenix area, so you want to check out some local fights, support your local fighters. Head over to Del Sol Boxing Promotions. You can find them on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, and of course X, formerly Twitter. Also happening on July 27th, we have Kicks on Route 66. This is going to be a combination Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu and Muay Thai event. It's going to be at the Flagstaff Athletic Center in Flagstaff, Arizona. The Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu event is going to be starting at 2:30 p.m. This will be available to watch for free on Instagram. Check out 928 Monster Muay Thai for more on how to watch. The Muay Thai event is going to be starting at 5:30 p.m. It's going to feature in the co-main event Anthony Lopez versus Mike Kennedy. Lopez is an Army veteran and a former U.S. Muay Thai Open tournament champion. The USMTO is one of the largest, one of the most prestigious Muay Thai tournaments in North America, so certainly an accomplished fighter there in Anthony Lopez. He's taking on Mike Kennedy out of Flagstaff, who is also a longtime competitor, longtime martial arts practitioner, lots of experience, so it should be a good one there. In the main event, we've got Matt Sablehouse versus Judas Madrid. Sablehouse has been a champion in both Muay Thai and MMA, including Rage in the Ring here out of the Glendale area. Judas Madrid, his opponent, is representing Sunshine Boxing. If you're not familiar with that gym, definitely one of the premier striking gyms and really all of Arizona. So expect to see a good fight there in the main event. Flash Media Sports will be hosting that pay-per-view. It's going to be $19.99 to watch that. Just the Muay Thai event. Again, the Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu will be broadcast for free. Check out 928 Monster Muay Thai, 66 Jiu-Jitsu, or Flagstaff Fighters on Instagram for more on how to catch that event, how to get tickets, how to watch online. And finally, happening on Saturday, July 27th, we have the Olympic fundraiser. Now, what this is, Tiara Brandt, representing her dad and coach Danny Brandt out of Dan's Gym. Tiara has been selected to represent the USA in Muay Thai in the Olympics. Now, Muay Thai will be a showcased event. It is not yet an official Olympic event. Hopefully, fingers crossed, that will change in the future. But at the moment, it is a showcase event. There will be bouts from fighters representing 24 countries there. Tiara Brandt's going to be one of them. If you're not familiar with this young lady here, 2-time gold medalist at the IFMA tournament, which is more or less the equivalent, the Muay Thai equivalent of the Olympics. Also fresh off a 4th-round TKO victory over Brazilian Emily Modesto. That was for Chosen Fights in Suriname, so Tiara Brandt, certainly no stranger to international travel, certainly no stranger to representing the USA. Same goes for Coach Danny Brandt. Check out Dan's Gym on Instagram for more information. That's going to be at the Copper House in Chandler. Definitely a good cause to support. All donations will be tax deductible, will be $100 tickets. That's it for me, and guys, thank you so much for listening to episode 1 of Rings and Cages AZ. I'm looking forward to bringing you everything you need to know about Arizona fights. Don't forget to subscribe, rate, and review us on your favorite podcast platform. Follow me on social media for more updates and exclusive content. Until next time, Desert People.